Now, one task I always enjoy at the homestead here is taking care of the birds. They provide me with a lot of enjoyment and entertainment, so I certainly have no problem with providing for them. The fat collected from all the animals I harvest is devoured by the woodpeckers and chickadees, and other scraps are placed in winter feeding stations for the larger scavengers and other wildlife. It's a game of give and take around here, a comfortable balance between the two. Now, normally, whenever I'm working on a woodworking project, I take any scraps, maybe a foot long or so, and I stack them up on a pallet, and I got a mess of that. And then in the spring, I will work on building a bunch of nesting boxes, and then I distribute them, and I have a ton of them, and I put them all over my property. Makes me feel good when I have birds set up shop and raise the brood in one of my boxes that I provided for them. And right here, right in view of the house here, last year I had 5 boxes that were filled with nests. It was pretty cool. I've got shelves that I build for the robins and phoebes, and then the little boxes get used by the wrens, chickadees, nuthatches set up shop, and I have some that I put on the marsh edge, and I got swallows, and I have bluebirds that set up shop in them too. I really like to see that. It makes me feel good. And like I said on my other videos, I like projects that make me feel good, and this is one of them. Now this is the basic design that I build. I like to keep all my houses so they open up so I can clean them. And I'm not really one to use a lot of hardware. Now I'm really frugal. I live on a shoestring, you know. So I don't like to spend money on hinges and latches and stuff like that, so I try and use my imagination a little bit and figure out a way for everything to operate without having to buy hinges. And I'll show you what I did here. Now this here, there's no hinge here, even though this opens. All it does is pivot on a nail pounded in through each side, and that allows me to open it up and clean it out. Now, instead of buying a little latch or something, all I did here was I cut a little notch in the front of the birdhouse, and that allows that to slip right through there, and then I turn that and it locks it in. And all of these are just these little L-shaped lag screws that you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's and any other hardware store. But this is the basic design, and I'm going to go ahead and bang out a few of those this morning, you know, just to keep busy. Now, it doesn't matter too much with some of the species like house wrens. They will set up in a box that already has an old nest in it, but the bluebirds won't. So I want to make all my boxes be able to open up so I can clean them out, because I really like having the bluebirds here. Now, I'm just using the rough cut lumber scraps that I have. I really don't go by any set dimension, just pretty much just an approximate. I'm using some 1x6s and 1x4s here. Now the two sides are made out of 1x6. The front is 8 inches high, and the back I cut at 9.5. And that gives me about a 15-degree pitch to the roof here. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the back, which will be this dimension, and I'm going to have the top of the board match this angle here, which is 15 degrees. And set my saw at 15 degrees. And I got the same angle as the sides on my birdhouse there. So now when the back goes on, lines up there, same angle there. Everything lines up nice, gives a nice nailing surface for that roof. All right, now that I got the two sides and the back all cut, I'm going to go ahead and nail these components together here. If you don't have a nail gun, you can use sheetrock screws and nail it by hand, whatever. Okay, now that I got that nailed together like that, now the front goes inside here. It doesn't cap this. I want it to be able to pivot, so it's got to fit inside these two boards. Now, I'm not going to bother cutting an angle up here. In fact, I'm going to cut the top just a little bit shy, maybe 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 or whatever, just to allow a little bit of a vent here for the birds. So with that there, it would be 8 inches. So I'll just cut it back maybe 7 3/4. That'll work just fine. Okay, I cut the board 7 3/4 and square on both ends, and then I measured 2 inches down from the top, and that'll be the center of the hole. Now I always use this 1 1/4 inch paddle bit to make the hole, but then I was finding on every single house I put out, the birds enlarged the opening. You know, I always made it the 1 1/4 inch, but the birds have been telling me it's not big enough, so I'm gonna make it the whole 1 1/2 inch now. Of course, you want to have something under it. You don't want to be drilling into your floor or whatever. And I cut a little notch, maybe 1/4 inch wide, up about 5/8 of an inch or something like that. Really nothing fancy. Now the only part of this entire project where you have to have any degree of precision is right here where these nails go in. If you have one nail here and then one that's a little offset, it's not going to want to hinge. Okay, so I measured up 7 inches. So I measured up 7 inches from the bottom. Same thing here. And then whatever my lumber material is, I went into the center of that, which would be right there. And that way my nail goes in here and it goes in the exact same spot right here. And that'll offer this a nice even spot to pivot with. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Before you pound your nail in, make sure everything's nice and flush. Lined up here, lined up here. One nail in the center. You also can use sheetrock screws and all of that, whatever works, whatever you want. There we go. Very nice. Now I'll just measure the bottom, 4 inches, with that closed here. It's 4 by 4. That's easy enough. And there's our bottom. Just make sure everything's lined up. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this prepared for this little hook. The slot tells me exactly where I want to be. I just push down, give myself a little mark there, and then dead center in the board, I'm just going to drill a little bit of a pilot hole for this to go ahead and sink right into. So that's it. That's locked in there. Got a nice little house going. Now for the roof, I like to have a little overhang on every structure I build. I like the roof having a little overhang. Overhanging on the sides, overhanging in the front. I'm not going to overhang it in the back because that way if I screw it to a tree, I don't want that overhang interfering with that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to measure. The box itself is 5 3/4 inches wide. Maybe I'll overhang it a little bit. Maybe I'll give it 7 inches. And overhang the front, so maybe a 7 inch by 7 inch or something like that. I'll see what I got for lumber, and whatever I have is what I'll use. Now I'm going to cut this top the same angle of this, which is 15 degrees that we had cut this the same. So I know that's 15 degrees, so I'll cut that 15 degrees, and then it's not going to be pushing the birdhouse away from the tree, because I don't want it like that. And I don't want it sticking out over it. So cutting at 15 degrees will match this nice and flush in the back. I'm just feeling under there with my fingers. It feels like it's good and centered. And then I'm just going to shoot the roof down into the side. So there you go. One nice little wren house, bluebird house, whatever you want. I got a nice little vent there for it. This opens up, pivots like that. You can clean out the old nest. That way if you have any bees take up residency in it too, you can clean it out. Was that easy or what? And then I'll tell you, you get these out, and I'm pretty certain that when you see birds raising a family in the little houses you provided for them, it'll make you feel good. And I don't think enough people in this world do enough stuff that makes them feel good. Everybody's always pissing and moaning about something. Everybody's griping, you know? I don't know what it is, but in this world now, everybody's always got a gripe. You know, you go to a forum, even on my own forum, you got people that start a bunch of crap over nothing, you know? I really think it's people don't take the time to do a project that makes them feel good. I don't really know. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, I'm pretty certain that if you whip up some birdhouses and you have some birds raising families in them, that'll make you feel good. I know it does me. This is one of my feeding stations here. The chickadees are all over it right now. As you can see, I got a pile of logs there to mill up. And I have this wren house, and I have wrens that nest in this every year. You can see what I'm saying about they're always making the hole bigger. So, and you can tell those are wrens. They always make the nest out of sticks, and that's a couple years of nest there. But I'm going to go ahead and clean it out today and let them start fresh. You see that? See, that's the wrens. They build them all out of the sticks like that, and then the other birds use moss, and some will use all feathers. And you can tell the species that way. They're pretty friendly. They know I'm not going to bother them at all. This is the type of nesting box that I just built. I was showing how I open it up and I screw them right to the trees. But on this one here, all I did was I took a piece of electrical conduit, and chickadee right there, the metal conduit, and I flattened it down. And then I just drilled some holes and put some screws through it. And then I just sink this by hand into the ground. I have them like this a lot of times, and you'll see another one down here near the marsh. Sometimes I screw them to trees where the nuthatches and birds like that tend to use them more, the regular cavity nesters. But over in the marsh area or in the meadows where there isn't any trees, I'll set them up, and then I have bluebirds and swallows will utilize them that way. So it depends on where I put them, what different species will inhabit them. Now it looks like there's only a couple inches of snow here. I'm walking on a crust right here, and when I fall down through, I'm over my knees. It's pretty crazy. This is the end of March. Don't feel it. I'll show you my little screen house here too. See, that's my little screen house. I'll go down here and check out my nesting box. I might have already cleaned this one out. No, you see, I got a leftover nest there. Now I'll show you. I don't go around the property all the time and look and see what species is always living in my nest, but when I go out and clean them out, you can tell. Now this nest here, it's made out of grass, but it's lined with feathers, and that's always the swallows that do that. The one that I just showed back there was all sticks. Those are the wrens, and those over there had bluebirds in them, and they make them out of grass. So when you find grass and feathers like this here, this is always the swallows, and when the grass nest with no feathers is the bluebirds. The ones that are all moss are the chickadees. They use moss and grass. Get this house set up for another brood. Nothing goes to waste around here. The large wood scraps get used for birdhouses, the small ones used for kindling, and the sawdust and shavings go to the hen house. We're in the Coupe de Ville here now. Normally I keep the coop really clean, but in the wintertime I let all the poop and everything build up. I just keep putting fresh hay in, and then the poop just builds up, and it causes a lot of heat. And this morning when I came outside, it was 13 degrees out, and I came out in here, and when I came in, there was a heater on. I mean, you really feel the difference. The water didn't freeze or anything. So if it gets down to about 10 below, their water will start to crystallize. But any temps are up really above 10 below. As long as I have a nice layer of poop in here to generate some heat through the decomp, it'll stay above freezing, which is pretty cool.
really effortless. But it's getting that time of year now where we're not getting much below zero weather, and I'm gonna get this coop cleaned out. But I brought in some fresh shavings there from the woodworking projects, and I'm gonna get their nesting boxes cleaned out and put some new shavings in there. Now, nothing ever goes to waste around here. Here it is again, you know, I make a lot of sawdust here at the homestead, and I'm not gonna go and throw it out in the woods and then go buy bales of sawdust at Tractor Supply. I mean, it's kind of stupid. So I'm setting up their nesting boxes with my sawdust made from nesting boxes. So how cool is that? I'll do some circus tricks here. My circus hens. Come on. Come on. That's it. That's it. And popcorn chicken. There you go. This is how you make popcorn chicken. Can't just have a trick border collie. You gotta have trick hens. Come on. Come on. Don't be afraid of it. There you go. Come on. There you go. That's a good one. Come on. Ready? There you go. Popcorn chicken. Hey, that's my fingers. You crazy, silly girl.
Now go get me a beer.